Have you ever thought about this question? What happens to your work after you hand it off? You wrote the post, you made the graphic, you filmed the reel, you hit submit, and then someone above you made a decision, approved it, changed it, killed it, or quietly let it die in a folder somewhere. Most of the time, you never find out why. This week's guest has been on both sides of that conversation. She started as a creator. Now she's the one in the room making those calls as a fractional CMO for clients across 3 continents. And today she's going to tell you exactly what's going through her head when content lands on her desk. That and a lot more is Strategy Talk. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, bright and early for me in the US, 8 a.m., and we are live with another episode of Strategy Talks. I want to welcome all of you who might be here watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. If you are watching this live, let us know where you're joining us from and what you're seeing and what you're hearing. If you have questions, please put them in the comments and they should pop up for me in the studio. Now, for those of you who listen to Strategy Talks as a podcast, I want to make sure I welcome you especially as well, because we love our podcast guests, and our listeners. So it's easy to say, we create all this great content and you hand it over, and then what happens? If you're not the one scheduling it or publishing it, you might never know whether that content gets published or not. And if it gets held back, maybe it gets held back, but you don't know exactly why. So that's what we're going to find out today. So without much further ado, I'm going to bring onto the stage with me my friend Anna. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing amazing today. The weather is lovely. I've already had my morning coffee, so I'm good and ready to go.
That's awesome. Now, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Lisbon right now. We have like 84 Fahrenheit around that. It's beautiful today. Summer has arrived.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be finally, we have a warm, sunny day today in Vermont. We've had a lot of rain. Memorial Day, it was really rainy. But now we're good. We're going to have a nice sunny day today for me as well. So that's very exciting. So Anna, you're a fractional CMO. Before I start with any questions, for those of you listening, what does that mean in a practical way? What does your day or your week looks like before we go into all the questions about content as a fractional CMO?
Yeah. So for me and my version of being a fractional CMO, that means I work with multiple companies, most of them pretty small, a lot of startups, so a lot of context switching. But at the end of the day, what I mean when I say CMO, it's I'm responsible. It's I make the decision. I have to explain it. My head is on the line if something goes wrong. And I take that serious. But it's also, I think it's a lot of fun because I love being able to talk to different businesses, not just have a one-track mind and have to like figure one thing out. I can learn from different places, and I love that about it.
Yeah. So you are responsible for the content strategy and the content. Are you doing the things as well? Or do some of the teams, you're the CMO and you are directing people, this is direction we're going?
Well, it really depends on who else I'm working with. There are sometimes when I still write scripts, when I still write copy, sometimes where I just pick between what I've seen so far, sometimes when I give feedback, And on the off chance, I do still produce my own content just because my background is in fine arts. So we kind of speak the same language, which is really helpful with anyone doing content. And I also understand that when you're doing your job well, or you're attached to it and it's part of your personality, there is a way of giving feedback and there's a way of not giving feedback.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. Awesome. So Anna, when a piece of content lands in front of you for review, what are you actually looking for? And what are the first questions in your head?
First of all, before you all get nervous and like, oh my God, like this is too much, I have to say that content by itself has a really big problem and strength at the same time, and that is that it's visible. So everyone, meaning the founder, the salesperson, whoever else is on the team, is going to have an opinion on it. And it's not founded in any kind of marketing experience. It's just, I like it, I don't like it, make it pop, it doesn't feel right.
Make the logo bigger.
Yes, exactly. And it doesn't matter if you tell them, well, when we post it with a profile, the logo is already going to be there. They cannot imagine it. They don't see it like that. And they will always have the excuse that like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I can have an opinion on the piece of content that you're giving me. So that's like kind of the context that I ultimately have to argue with, because when it's like Friday night, I'm not getting a text about strategy. I'm getting a text about, oh, I don't like that piece of copy in the ad. Change it now. That's what I have to deal with, not the big questions. So, but what am I looking for? What I usually tell my clients is, I don't want a perfect puzzle piece that doesn't fit in anywhere. I have to make sure it fits into the brand, into the goal that we have in that quarter, in all of those context things. And so you can have a brilliant idea and a brilliant piece of content, but it might just not be the right time, not be the right channel, not be maybe the day before I talked to the founder and they've shifted the goalpost. That might not have been communicated to you, but it's something that I now have to deal with. But I think a good CMO should actually tell you about those things and not just shut down completely. So you know what's going on. So you know you can change something. And a lot of times I also have to ask myself, was the brief good enough? Did I give you all of the information that you actually needed to produce a good piece of content? Or is it my fault? Is it something I can change?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think as a content creator, I still create quite a bit of, I'm a content strategist, but I create quite a bit of content still for my clients. And there have been times where I feel like I know the brand really well and I forego to brief, right? Because I'm doing all of the jobs. And what I've learned in that, then there's way too many iterations, because then what they might have told me, and this was, years ago, but that might have told me what they wanted wasn't clear enough. So especially for me, for longer pieces of content, and I'm talking about a video script or, a blog article form, a transcript, I do the brief and I make sure that I have the right angle. For me, that's one of the most important things. There's like 5 big ideas in here, but what angle are we going to go with? And because we can't do them all, right? And I think that you touched on that, making sure that you as a CMO gave the correct brief and then for them to interpret. Now, do you, and this is a side question, but do you feel like the longer you work with somebody, the easier it is to create these briefs and say, it's easier to create that content for them because you kind of know how they work and they kind of start knowing the brand? Is that your experience?
Yes and no. So on the one hand, on a personal level, it's probably going to get easier, but you also, I think in German we say betriebsblind. So you get blind to all of the outside things, and you start to imply stuff without saying it out loud, but maybe the audience were trying to get cold leads or something like that. And then you're missing that part of the perspective. Or, yeah, there are a lot of nuance in there, and sometimes it works better, and sometimes it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. So what are some immediate reasons you send stuff back or content gets shelved? What are some immediate things?
So me, and that's just me personally, I work a lot with healthcare brands, and the European framework around that is really, really strict. So last year in October, I started having a new client, and I went through the Instagram feed, and I had to shelve 2/3 of the content because it would have ended in a lawsuit. And that's, and then again, I'm asking, was the person given the right brief? Do they actually have experience in that kind of field? Are we allowed, or is it safe for us to say that stuff? So that's one reason I would immediately shelve something. But I would give feedback, and I would flag it, and I would say, hey, read up on this, because we've written it out by now. So that's one of the reasons. Another might be when there's an obvious misalignment between the brand guide and what is in there. If we say we want a warm and fuzzy tone, but now you try to fearmonger in the content, because I mean that's a lot of what healthcare advertising is.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, those two things do not align. So nope, right back to you.
So that's a good segue to something that just popped in my head. Things that work well are trending type of content. And so if you work a lot with healthcare brands, that makes it harder, right? To jump into something, to test something, to make it align. Do you stay away from that type of content, or do you feel like there's still an opportunity for some of that?
Well, I would go about it this way. Is the trend or the hype or the virality or whatever you want to call it at the core of that? Do we like the person who started it? Are they aligned with our brand? Is it actually landing with the audience that we're going for? If both of those are yes, maybe there's a way we can frame it. Maybe there's a way we can do it. Maybe we go for organic rather than paid, just because of the way the restrictions are enforced. So I think, especially in startups, with a fast turnaround and generally not those long ways that you communicate for weeks on something, I think there is a possibility to do it and to do it well. But of course, healthcare just comes with restrictions.
Yeah. We do have a comment from Ashika. I'll pull it up real quick. She said, I agree with Anna. And this was when you talked about the healthcare, about having to shelf things because it's really hard to comply. And I'm in the US and I know we have strict rules, but I believe Europe is probably even stricter. And if you work across 3 continents, then that's a lot. That's a tough one to dive into. Now, what advice would you have from somebody? Again, this is kind of a side question, but a content creator who's going to work with somebody like you in a new industry, say healthcare. Is it up to them to ask you and say, hey, what are the rules? What are the compliance rules? Is it up to you to onboard them right? Is it up to because I've been in that position where I didn't get all of the information. And sometimes I was like, well, maybe I didn't ask for it, or maybe they assumed I knew, or maybe they didn't know they needed to give it to me. But what advice do you have for somebody who is new to an industry like healthcare that's super regulated?
Well, I would first say it's on the brand to provide that content, to not just assume everyone knows the ins and outs of that industry. But at the same time, if you're a content creator that wants to long-term work with wellness and healthcare and supplements and everything that goes along with it, you should do your own research. And if you are in Europe, just know, yes, there is a general framework, but the way that certain countries interpret it is very different and enforce it. So, because at the end of the day, it's still your profile that's associated with it. You do not want that kind of scrutiny on your content in general, because for you, it's not just one brand.
Right.
It's your face and your own business. So I would say be cautious, ask questions. But yeah, some stuff is bound to go wrong.
Yeah, for sure. So for content creator, how many layers of protection would you suggest? And the protection would be, instead of being the person who talks to the stakeholder, figure out the strategy, creates the content and publishes it. If you're the only one doing that, who is going to look at it and say, red flag, if there's nobody else there? So what do you suggest? Having an editor, hiring somebody like you, a fractional CMO, or having somebody from even the sales team look it over? Do you think it's important to have a second set of eyes?
Always, especially when now you have to assume that part of it may be done with AI or with the help of AI. Having a real person that knows the context, just have a look at it, I think is always important from the company side, from the creator side. Get everything in writing.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about AI since you brought it up. Do you, as a fractional CMO, encourage the companies you work with to create or have an AI policy, especially around content creation? Have you pushed for that? Have you had to create it? Do you, and this is what came up with me before, especially working with vendors, right? So you have content creators that, everybody's got their own business. Like you just said, if you're hired as a content creator by a fractional CMO, you're probably a contractor, you have your own business, you have your own reputation to uphold. But what does that conversation look like about using AI? Is AI okay in certain circumstances, or do you give them the tools? How do you work that?
So I think, again, there are two sides to it. One is from the production side, and one is from the people actually watching the content. Because whether you like it or not, the sentiment is that if people know it's AI, they don't like it. And in Europe, at least, from end of August this year, we have to tag a piece of content if it has AI in it. You have to document which programs were used. It's all very fuzzy, but it does play into that. So I'm not going to tell you how to do it and get into the legal things, but just know that the reputation, especially if you're working with a trust-based brand and niche and something in healthcare, be careful with that kind of stuff. Also, it's probably going to be smart to have a policy as a company around how you use AI. Just the same way you say, hey, this is where your data is going.
Right. Yeah.
Just to have that outward transparency and, to some degree, believability when it comes to the customers. And then on the inside, of course, what you might have not been privy to as a content creator is the pressure that goes into content having to be cheaper. I'll tell you what one of my founders said in a meeting, and your head is probably going to explode. He said, in 6 months, I expect content to be 10 times cheaper.
Wow.
Flat out. And of course, I'm the one sitting in that meeting. My head is exploding internally because I know that's far from reality. And the only thing I said in that moment is, if the quality stays the same, sure, up the frequency. But in that moment, it wasn't the right time to put them in their place.
Yeah. Have that conversation. Now,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to what you said about the European Union, about having to put on there that it's AI generated. I am connected to a lot of people in Europe. I've never seen anybody say this is do you mean on social media, or do you mean on their website? Nobody ever says, or is it just a visual, or is it the copy?
I believe, and don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, I believe it's both.
I have never, ever, ever seen anybody say this is AI generated.
No, because because they know that people don't like it and won't respond well to it. So unless they're forced to say this is AI, that's why they're not doing it.
They're not doing it. They're skating under that radar.
Yeah.
At some point, it's going to be enforced. Is that what you're? I mean,
yeah, in August this year.
This coming August. Okay.
All right. So it's coming up.
It'll be interesting to see if people will be honest about that, or if they're gonna, not say that. But yeah, because I barely ever, there's more content creators saying the opposite. They're saying all this content is made by me. No AI was used, instead of the other way around. I used AI to create this, right? But I think most of us, especially in marketing, are at the point where we can detect if something has been written by a human or an AI, just because there's so many AI tells in there. And so
it's not X, it's Y.
Yeah, exactly. But also the formatting with the short sentences, and then the spreading it out, and there's a lot of tells in there. So let's say, if so this is more of a higher level, but if a content creator is watching this and they want to start thinking more like a CMO, like you, where do they begin? What are some of the things that they might not think about right now, but that you always have to think about? You kind of alluded to it in the beginning, but we all want to move up. I started out as a social media manager. I'm now a content strategist. We want to evolve. So if somebody is watching this and was like, oh, Anna has a cool job, I might want to get more responsibility, move into the fractional CMO area. What are some things that they need to know, or what they need to be cautious about?
Yeah, I think the first step, if you're a content creator, is you have your KPIs in which you measure success. But on a company level, they are different. Just as a general overall strategy, because there are numbers on the back end, maybe the number of leads, quality leads, whatever it is, that you don't see, you don't know about. And even when I see a quote unquote bad performing piece of content, I try to extract what is good in there, why it might not have worked, and try to still see the value in it. Because, I don't know, I think I posted this like a week ago, just a chart you can go through and say, hey, I believe good piece of content didn't perform well. What are the reasons? And you just go through it one by one, and you're like, did it actually get delivered enough? did someone click in the first however long that testing window was? Were there even enough people to see it? Is my audience, the one that I have for this profile, matching with the people that I want to reach? Is there an actual overlap? And I think there is a really quick way to say, oh, if it worked well organically, it will work well paid. Not always the case.
No.
And that goes both ways. So it could be that like organically something is working well because the audience has been with you for a long time. But if the goal is, no, we want fresh leads, it might not be the right fit.
Right.
Or it might be something as simple as the audience you're trying to reach. Maybe those are founders, CMOs, CEOs, the kind that normally you have to pay a lot of money to get in front of. And it's about therapy and dealing with stress. Do you think those people are actually publicly going to admit and like engage with a piece of content that says, oh, maybe I'm not doing that well? No, they're not. But there's still value in getting in front of them. And maybe the leads will come out on the other side without the engagement in the middle. So it's just try to think of the stuff outside the content that's connected to it. If you're normally doing organic, get into paid. And if you're normally doing paid, get into organic. Because we're getting to the point where everyone just has this one pile of data, not being photographs, images, but also text to work with. And sometimes you can elevate the ROI of a piece just by sharing it with someone else in the team.
This is a great advice. Last week, we had somebody on that is an organic specialist, and she gave the same advice. If you're in organic, learn paid. If you're in paid, learn organic. They work together. So I love that you're saying the same thing. Now, I want to touch on what you said about KPIs, and I just want to talk to somebody out there who is a content creator who might want to step up to that strategist role or that management role. You have to ask for the business goals, not just the social media goals and not just the marketing goals, right? Because if you don't know the business goals, you're never going to attain them. That was I've been in this industry for 15 years, and it took about a year for me to figure that out, to ask that question. I kept saying, well, what do you want on social media? And it finally, after about a year, it clicked. I'm like, what do you want to accomplish this year? How do you want to grow your business? What are you doing? And then the information starts flooding in about what they're doing with their stakeholder team and what sales might be doing. Because if you're just only living in your marketing bubble and you have no idea what sales is tasked with or what new products come out or what they're planning to release in the fall, it's really hard for you to do a really good job as a marketer. So you kind of brought that up when you said, your KPIs, and you need to, and as a CMO, you would have access to that information. You don't have that access when you're a content creator on the marketing team, not always.
No, and I want to add to that because the people setting those goals and telling you what they want out of marketing, if you don't talk about the business goals, sometimes they don't know how to translate those. So they say they want more sales and leads on the business side, but then they say on the marketing side, well, I want followers.
Right.
You know that one thing doesn't necessarily lead to the other. No. But if that's the only piece of information you have, that's what you're going to focus on. And ultimately, what you're doing is not going to help the brand in itself. And guess where you're going? Out of that job.
Yeah. We are at 29 minutes. Can you believe this? Before I ask you where people can connect with you, I want to ask you if there's any advice that you have in this age of AI. And we have Eunice with us here today too. She's left a wonderful comment on LinkedIn. But I just want to know from you, Anna, what is your recommendation, or what is your number one tip? Or, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, Anna's so smart, Doreen's interviewing her. She went to CMO. I want to get there. What would you tell them to do?
Well, okay. Again, two things. I don't know what's going on today, but it's always A and B.
Good.
One of them is definitely try out a lot of AI tools. And I don't mean do 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there. I mean, pick one, spend focused time with it, learn ways how to interact with it. But at the same time, you have to remember that most of them, the models and the tools that they come with, they are only phases. We're going to move on to the next one in a month. Like right now, it's Claude Code. Great. But we have no idea where it's going to be in like 4 months. So you have to learn the fundamentals of AI and you have to play around with it. But on the other side, have time away from it where you actually use your brain and you do something by yourself. And it does not matter if it's perfect, but just keep training that intelligence and learning it without having to ask AI questions all of the time. I remember, I think yesterday I read something about most people when they write with AI, if you ask them 5 minutes later, they're not even going to know the citations are from their text. It's because we don't remember. Right. But you need your brain. Like if you don't have the structure around it, you will never be able to tell if AI is telling you crap about something.
Yeah, you need to have your own brain. Yeah, I love it. So Anna, where can people connect with you? Where are you most active on the internet?
Yeah, it's going to be LinkedIn for sure. I did just post the infographic I was talking about. Later today, I should be setting 2 articles live. One on the problem with content and people commenting on it that don't have any idea what's going on. The other one about the image problem that paid marketing has. Because I think for some reason people connect organic with like organic food and good, and organic content is great and paid is bad and the devil.
Yeah. That'll be a wonderful resource. So for those of you listening, those links will be in the or watching the replay. The links will be in the show notes. I'll make sure to get them from Anna. Anna, thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you for our guests who were our listeners and our watchers who were here on LinkedIn, leaving wonderful comments. This was a great conversation. I love this conversation. And it's nice to get a perspective from somebody who is in that, like approving content and kind of get an idea of what that looks like. For those of you who are here every week, I will be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Anna, thank you so much. And we'll see you all later. Bye, everybody.